Hi, everyone. Welcome to Choose Your Vibe. We're so happy you could join us today. Just a few things about our class. It will be from 10 a.m. to noon Pacific Standard Time, so about 2 hours. And if you have questions, please write them in the comments. We'll be monitoring the comments, either answering them through the comments themselves, or Sam or Matt will answer them as they go through their presentation. We have Sam and Matt here to show you some beautiful techniques and demonstrations and share some of their favorite formulas with you. So with that being said, I am going to pass it over to Matt to take us away. And like I said, answer any questions in the comments or chat box for you. Thank you for joining us.
All right. What's up, everybody? Welcome. Thank you for joining Choose Your Vibe with me, Matt Taddeo, guest artist with Schwarzkopf Professional, and Sam, who's another guest artist with Schwarzkopf Professional. We're really excited you guys are here. Just a quick reminder, again, the chat box is live. Sam can see the chat box, and we also have our support, Megan, watching that chat box as well. So if you can't hear us, if we're looking fuzzy, technical difficulties, whatever, you feel free to throw it into the chat box, and then they'll make us aware of it. As well as if you have any questions, throw them in there. We're going to try really hard to get to the last portion and have time to talk to you guys and just answer some questions about Vibrance. But in the meantime, let's jump right in. What I'm going to do, guys, is demo two different things for you today. I am going to demo the color melt on my doll head here. You can see her. Sorry, there she is. So you can see this side is not done with the melt yet. This side has been melted. So I will demo the melt. But in the meantime, I wanted to give you guys something a little extra as well for today's class. So I am going to go ahead and start demoing the triangle money piece. Triangle money piece is something I use all the time behind the chair. It's one of the big money makers right now. And so I really wanted to share that with you guys on my other spare doll head here. So I'm going to jump right in, and I'm going to go ahead and get started. And I'll toss it over to Sam to let you guys know what she's doing today.
Thanks, Matt. Cannot wait to see this placement. I know it is hot trend right now, and you've got a great technique, so thank you so much for sharing it with us. I'm going to share a fun placement as well today. So my name is Sam, like Matt said. I'm here in Chicago. I've been working for Schwarzkopf for a while, and on the artistic team now for about almost 2 years, if we count last year. And I'm going to show you guys something that I've come up with called the rule of threes. So it's going to really utilize time, efficiency, placement, and the products that we're going to use. It's going to really showcase those. So you can see right here, I have an undone mannequin. And these are the three placements. Let me raise her up just a bit. So what we're going to do is we have zone 1, which is pretty much above the occipital bone, sectioned out here above the parietal ridge. Then we have zone 2, which in the back comes from the parietal ridge down. And we're going to do a different formula on each one of these sections. And on the back section, on zone 3, I'm actually going to do 3 formulas. So what that's going to give us is big pops and big effective color in a really time-efficient way. So on our top zones, I'm going to be using Vibrance in a darker shade. And on our bottom zones, I'm going to be using some fun mixes and some formulas that I've come up with for you guys. So I do have a finished mannequin for you to see today. I will show you her. She's stuck. Sorry, guys. Just to give you kind of a vibe of what's going to be happening, we have some fun balayage, some fun money pieces, some fun trendy curtain bangs. We kind of try to nail it all in one. So let's drop back over to Matt and look at what he has going on. And while he's doing that, I'll mix up some color and get right into it for you guys.
All right, guys. So this is the triangle money piece sectioning that I use all the time, okay? So you guys can see there's a triangle placement right here across the top of the crown, or top of the front hairline. Then there's a triangle on the side here. I hope you guys can all see that. And then another triangle will be placed over here on this side. Okay, due to time, we only have 2 hours. I'm only going to demo one of the triangles, but I wanted you guys to see this little break right here. This is not for a complete and full hairline detail, okay? If you want to do a full and complete hairline detail using the triangle money piece technique, you need to place 4 triangles. You're going to do 2 right here and 2 right here. That's going to be for a full detailed hairline. If you're going to shadow, color melt, root smudge, anything like that, that's when I like to use the 3 triangles, because you're going to be hitting that hairline anyways. So there's no point in going through and detailing this crazy front hairline, then to go through and shadow it anyways. So you'll notice that these triangles do not connect right here on the hairline. There is a gap. That gap is totally fine. You want that gap anyways because you're going to be shadowing it. The concept of the triangle money piece is this. It's not about making a block. We're not creating that e-girl sort of look that's so popular. This money piece transcends through all age ranges and all age groups and all looks and styles. And the way that we're going to think about this is thinking about this triangle in a 3D shape, okay? We want to create light to dark from the front hairline to the back of the triangle, okay? Just in zone 1. Light to dark in zone 1. Then what we want to do is make sure we pay attention to zones 2 and zones 3, right? So then we want to create a dark to light transition in zones 2 and 3, and that's going to create a 3D object. So it's super simple, and it goes like this. It's going to be 2, maybe 3 slices right on the hairline, back to back, maybe even to back at the third one. Then your next piece is going to be a standard looking weave, and maybe a second standard looking weave, and then you're going to finish the triangle off with just a little baby light. The whole idea is that if you do that, if you go slice, slice, weave, weave, baby light, right here already, just from the front hairline back to here, in this area, you have light to dark transitioning, which looks beautifully transitioned from dark to light on the ends down here. The reason I like to use triangles is because there's a heavy side and there's a soft side to a triangle, okay? And what's going to happen is the hair on this side of the triangle and the hair on this side of the triangle kind of falls over a little bit of this area right here. And so what you get is a really soft and really natural looking money piece that doesn't come across blocky, it doesn't come across square, and it doesn't come across the dreaded word of stripy, which every client out there just doesn't want to hear anything about the word stripes. Don't even bring up the word stripes. I'm going to go in, I'm going to use Blonde Me 20 volume mixed 1:2 ratio. Okay, I like the 1:2 ratio most of the time. It's the most consistent. It gives me the most consistent amount of lift. I don't run into any sort of issues when I do Blonde Me 1:2. Okay, I know that there's going to be comments in the chat box about the swelling of Blonde Me, the issues with Blonde Me when it comes to swelling, leaving bleed marks, things like that. Number one, do not use heat. I'm not messing around. In other lighteners, I might be more willing to mess around with heat, okay? Nothing we make is recommended with heat. But remember, Blonde Me especially, you don't need to use heat. It's still the strongest lightener on the market. So make sure you mix up correctly, you measure correctly, and you never use heat, okay? I hope that answers the questions that I know are gonna pop up about Blonde Me, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and get started on putting some of these foils in. I'm gonna do 2, maybe 3 back to back to back slices right on the hairline.
All right, that's awesome, because the biggest thing you hit on, I think, is the difference between the e-girl and the money piece too. We got to make sure that we're keeping people where they want to be, guys. Trends aren't just specific to one thing. You got to manipulate them for your client. So awesome advice, Matt. And thanks for the beautiful technique. I know they're going to love it because I already do. All right, so what I've got going on is the rule of threes. So the rule of threes is fun because just a little blurb is I moved here to Chicago to do comedy, and that obviously worked out. So that's something that's really fun in the comedy world is the rule of threes. And I kind of love to follow that just in life. It's fun for timing, and it's fun for what I think in this technique creates bold softness, maybe elevated punk. So in this very top section, what I've done is left zones 1 and 2 alone. And I've gone in and pre-lightened zone 3 here in the bottom, which is from the nape to below the occipital bone, keeping out pretty much everything that's in the occipital area below the parietal ridge, and then a nice little horseshoe shape right here in just this top zone 1. I previously lightened the bottom here with the Blonde Me clay lightener and 40 volume. Like Matt using 20 volume with the Blonde Me premium lightener 9 plus, you would not want to use 40 volume because, like you said, the power is in the can, right? The lightener is strong. That's what's doing the work. The clay lightener is just as strong, but we're going to process open air, and it only gives us about 7 levels of lift, so not as aggressive. I did that on Chantel, our mannequin, that's her name officially, because she was like a level 7, so I didn't need that much power. I painted it nice into the scalp, doesn't have as much swelling, and it makes for a really nice grow out and have some peaks and valleys sometimes instead of such a straight line. This technique is really going to give you a lot of boldness for a little bit of time. So you can take and manipulate all of my formulas and do whatever you would like. I'm just going to show you the placement mostly. So first off, we have pre-lightened zone 1. That is this bottom zone here. Excuse me, guys, zone 3. We're going 1, 2, 3. We have pre-lightened zone 3. And in zone 3 is another 3 zones. And we have that being from behind the ear, diagonal back, all the way into the nape as zone 2. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3. So we have 3 zones horizontally and we have 3 zones vertically. And all of those zones are going to do something else. So now that we've previously lightened the bottom, we can go ahead and start applying some of our fun formulas and mixes. I'm going to start with this back section in the nape because it's the largest. And I'm going to apply Vibrance 9.5-98 and Vibrance 0-88, which is what an additive that we have in IGORA Vibrance and also in IGORA Royale, of course. 9.5-8, we all know means pastel toner violet red. So there's a soft, soft, soft hint of pinky violet here, but I wanted a little more punch, so I added in only 4 grams of 0-88. So I did 40 grams of 9.5-98, and I added in 4 grams of 0-88, and I got this really beautiful pink soft hue that you'll see through here on my finished mannequin. Thank you, Megan. Perfect. So I previously lightened it. I got it up to this soft pale yellow, and I'm going to go in and apply the Vibrance 9.5-98 and 0-88 with equal parts 6 volume. And I'm using 6 volume because I'm not covering any white or gray, and I'm depositing. I could use the gel, but because I'm doing this on camera and in front of everyone, the cream is going to be a lot cleaner, so we're going to go that way. I'm going to get this on. And then I'm after that going to apply my front 2 zones. My front zone on either side of the face, it doesn't matter, we'll go with the left side to me, is going to be 6-99 and 819, 1 to 2. And then equal parts 6 volume. Again, we're using the cream because it deposits and we don't need to cover any white hair. So we're using the 6 volume and we're using the cream because it's nice and clean and it's easy for me to look good on camera to you guys. So I would use the gel at the shop. I don't think they deposit differently. I think they are both awesome. And then after that, I'm going to show you zone 3C. So 3A, 3B, and then 3C over here on this side is going to be 7-48 and 9-7, 1 to 1. And then 2 grams of 0-77. So let me show you what these look like on my finished mannequin, and then I will start to apply those to my mannequin that has been previously lifted, and we can jump back over to Matt and see what he has going on. So over here I've got the 6-99 and the 819, 2 part 699, 1 part 819. And then over here we have this beautiful, rosy, soft, awesome, I almost want to call it like a rosy pumpkin, 7-48 and 9-7 with 2 grams of 0-77. So there's some fun mixes and some, what I really wanted to do was show you that you could use some additives in a really small way. You could use some neutralizing tones. You could bring in some fun stuff and really make up your own tones. And you can put them in one zone and give a bunch of creativity while keeping it very, very hidden and fun. So sort of elevating that punkness about it. So I'm going to apply this, and you guys are going to listen to Matt because he's got a lot of good stuff to say.
All right, guys. I love what Sam just said about the subtlety of these kind of things. It gives a good opportunity to remind you guys that when we're working with demi-permanence, you know, Sam's formulas really showcase how creative you can be with the boosters, with the pastel tones that we have, the 9.5 series being pastel. Remember, boosters in IGORA Royale will always tell you you only need one gram, 1 chocolate chip, one just little something. When it comes to being creative with your demis, with Vibrance, like Sam showed you guys, you can add in more. You can be more bold and more intense with your formulations. It is a demi, it's not a permanent hair color. So those boosters, you can be more creative with and be more aggressive. I just finished up applying what's gonna go on to the base part, okay? All of these highlights in the triangle money piece go right to the scalp. We have back-to-back slices here. Slice and slice right on the hairline. If their hair is finer or their hairline is finer, right? A lot of our hairlines are not as strong. The doll heads are always like, there's like a gnarly amount of hair right on the hairline. not realistic about your clients. I would recommend going for 3 back-to-backs. But for this case, we went ahead and we did 2. After those 2, this third foil, this is our standard weave, or what I call beauty school weave, right? It's just a regular weave. It's the same one you did in beauty school. It's the same one you're avoiding nowadays, but it's time to bring it back a little bit. So beauty school weave. The hair that's in between, you want to separate it on the natural part line where they're parting their hair and toss it to the side. This is really important, okay? So let me show you here. This last foil was my baby light. Slice, slice, standard weave, baby light. Move the baby light out of the way. Take this hair right here. She's a natural middle part. That's where we're parting, okay? And we're going to toss these 2 pieces to the side. That's so much more important than you realize, okay? And I'm going to show you guys why right now. When we get to the last part, okay, we have so much lightness in the front. Here's the tip of our triangle. This part right here, we're going to give it just a good tease, okay? And remember, when you're teasing and you're doing color, this is not an updo. Stop it. You don't do that. You push. Just push, okay? So we're going to push that one, okay? And then we're going to preload our board a little bit. I like to work with a board around the hairline that gives me support, okay? So I'm going to come through. I'm going to preload my board. Okay, and we're going to lay that right on there. And this is where we're going to pop the hairline, okay? These are the ends. It's not a money piece if you don't have the pop on the ends, right? Okay, we want to go from dark to light in zone 1, right? And that's what we created with the slice, slice, beauty school weave, baby light weave. Now it's time for us to go dark to light on the outside. So why did I have you guys put the hair on the side like that? Because what we're going to do is we're going to actually use over direction of the hair to create the blend, okay? Don't rely only on your push and your tease to create a blend. Okay, so we have what's going to be on the left side of our girl, right? On the left side of our model here. I'm going to actually take each one of these and very professionally and carefully shift them to the opposite side of our client. Okay, shift to the opposite side. Okay, and the reason that we do that is because then I'm going to step over the face of her and I'm going to tease over here and actually apply the color. And the reason that we want to over direct it is imagine like a cut, right? If I pull hair all the way across the front of the face and I cut a blunt line, right, at an angle, it falls on this side short to long. So we're going to do the same thing with our color. I'm over directing across the face of my client. I'm going to apply the color after the tease. And when it comes back over to this side, it's going to actually go from short to long and create a blend for you. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so coming across, I would normally step across, but because of this, I'm going to go ahead and just move her. So now I'm working on the complete opposite side. I'm going to give it just a little bit of a push and a tease. Okay, again, grab my board so I have my support. You don't need to use a board. I just like using a board. It just gives me support and the right kind of ability to saturate the hair. Something that a lot of educators talk about, but needs to be talked about even more, is the saturation of your lightener to create maximum amount of lift. Okay.
Yeah, that's a good point. You really do need to be able to apply a thick layer of lightener to get the lightening that either one of us are talking about today. Because you cannot see the hair through my lightener. No way.
And then you can pull that foil back across. And so I'll show you guys again really fast before I send it back over to Sam again here. We're going to over direct this to the opposite side. We're going to over direct this hair. Move your foils around a bit if you need to the opposite side. Okay, and now this side, I think, based on my angle, I should be able to show you. Okay, so imagine it like this, right? If I paint just a solid line right here, watch as this falls. It's going to come across and start stretching out that line. Does that make sense? So here we are. We're across on this side. As I come across, it's going to start stretching out that line, elongating the back side of it. So that's just a quick tip to help you guys out. You don't always have to rely on the blend and the tease and the blend with your brush or the blend with your color melt. If you just shift the hair around, okay, the hair then moves back, and whatever line you created over here is now different because it's sitting over on this side of the head. So I hope that makes sense to you guys. Sam, what do you got going on?
All right, so I'm in zone 3A. So that's 699 and 819, 1 to 2. So 10 parts 699 and or 10 grams 699 and 20 grams 819. And 6 volume. Of course, I'm using 6 volume again. Like I said, I know it sounds funny, but truthfully, guys, I'm using cream because I'm on camera. I would use gel at the shop, especially if I was doing it at the bowl. It's one of the most efficient, awesome things about Vibrance is that we can't use it on damp hair. And I'm using it on dry hair, so I'm going to get a great, big, long-lasting effect with some awesome shine. So either way is awesome. No matter what developer you're using, guys, here we do want to go 1 to 1. So if you see that I have 1 part 699 and 2 parts 819, remember, your developer still needs to match. In the shades that I'm using right here, you're only going to get about 70% white hair coverage, even though as a stylist, not as an artistic team member, I believe I normally get about 100% white hair coverage from Vibrance. I love it. I am addicted to Vibrance. It's like 100% my go-to at the shop. I love creating less lines of demarcation. I love making new tones, just like I'm doing here now. So another really awesome thing about Vibrance is that you can apply it to damp or dry hair. You can apply it at the bowl with a bowl or a brush, or you can use the bottle. So either way works. Again, back to why I'm using it today, just to be clean and look awesome on camera, because that's part of what I gotta do, even though that's not always what's happening at the shop. So up front, we got 699 and 819. You can see it. It's oxidizing very, very pink. And what's really funny is the one in the back here that I've already applied, which is 9.5-89 and 0-88. It looks almost orange. So here's the thing, oxidizing, it happens to everybody. Maybe explain it to your client before it happens. Be ready for it to happen. It's going to look different while it's processing. Ain't no big deal. Just wait it out, I promise, especially in some of your darker tones when you're adding just a few drops of boosters and additives. So I'm up in my zone 3A. I'm taking small slices, and I'm honestly just applying color. Not a big deal, guys. I'm not here to show you how to apply Vibrance. It's just a nice, virgin application for me at this point. So we'll come in, saturate nice, bring it up. The gel can be slightly runnier, like I said, so I have chose to use the cream. Maybe you would use the gel in the applicator bottle. That would be the best way. You can process this for 20 to 30 minutes. I'm normally about a 25-minute processor. Sometimes even turning at the bowl, I'll do 15 minutes. But the longer you leave it on, the longer it's going to last, okay? So don't blame the product if you're rinsing too quickly, all right? Something important that I've already rattled off that I want to make sure that you guys know is Vibrance is mixed 1 to 1, okay? No matter what developer you're using, you're going to mix it 1 to 1. So we've got 13 volume in the cream, 6 volume in the cream, and 6 volume in the gel. Matt's going to get into a little bit more of a gray coverage formula for you guys, but I'm going to let you know when you're doing gray or white hair coverage, you're going to want to use 13 volume. Opens the cuticle a little bit more, and it gives you better coverage. Nothing crazy again going on up here. I'm just taking these slices. You do need to take small slices, but Vibrance is very, very spreadable. It goes on easy. It's nice. You can push it through the hair. I tend to like to comb it through when I'm doing these bleached out sections just to make sure that every little piece of the hair is covered. That way, security. Bring it down, cover it up. And we're just going to do these nice and clean. Keep it easy. I'm going to go ahead and move on to the other side just to show you the other color and how it sort of has oxidized so that you can see that, and then I'll finish this up. So let's go on over to 3C, which is going to be 7-48, 9-7, and 0-77. So 1 to 1, and then just 2 grams of 0-77. I was really just looking for a little bit more of a pumpkin vibe. I was trying to come up with like a rosy pumpkin situation. So again, over here, I'm using the 6 volume cream. Because it's clean, I could use the gel. And it's already been pre-lighting, so I'm just going to bring down, and to keep it clean, take small sections away from the face. Bring it up onto my previous section, the 7-48 and the 9-7 and 0-7. It looks really, really, really copper. It's not going to be, I promise. It's going to look perfect on the head. It's just oxidized. So the color has come into the air and changed, and we're seeing things we don't want to see, which always tends to happen. Maybe tell your client about it before, but also have the security to know that this is not going to be this dark. It's not going to be just this copper. There is 7-48 in there, and so that's going to work great. after we've run through all of these, honestly, guys, if I was at the shop, I would be doing this very, very quickly. That's sort of the awesome point in the placement that I'm doing today, that we can take some nice big slices, bring it up, get it out of the way, come down, deposit. It is very spreadable, but don't take too thick of a section. It will kind of screw you. Bring it over. And this is 7-48 and 97 with 0-77 additive. So those additives are strong. You're never going to want to do an equal part unless you're looking to, you know, make a really intense, maybe forest green, or even just using the 0-88 on its own, maybe like a nice fun red. So you can see here in zones 3 that I've come all the way up into the front and given some really nice punchy money pieces, maybe a little bit more on the e-girl side of things. So that's going to come all the way up into the front of the head, and that way her bang is going to be with that beautiful 7-48, and on the other side, that 8-196-99. So I'm going to jump back over to Matt and see what he's up to. I'm going to finish applying these, and then I'll get into zone 2 for you guys.
What's up, guys? Okay, so I'm just kind of demoing again over on this side. So hopefully you guys can see a little bit more. Also wanted to make sure you guys had a chance to see the angle that I work with when I work on the side triangles, okay? You don't want to work the triangle angle down. You want to keep it strong like this, because you want to think about how that hair falls, okay? Slice, slice, standard weave, baby light, as it works to the back tip of this triangle, right? When that hair falls, you're going to see a beautiful cascade of color from light to dark sitting right here in the front of your client's hairline. So again, just kind of like moving myself back over here, and I wanted to give you guys a chance to kind of see the space that I start to add in between. I hope you guys can see that. After the back-to-back slices, this one's the beauty school weave, and then again, here's the baby light, right? And you can see how fine that baby light really is, okay, sitting on the top part of that section, okay? So this is a triangle money piece. Let me grab a few foils here. 1 second, guys.
It's so great. I mean, it's awesome to be seeing this.
The money piece, yeah. I feel like, you know, when it comes to vibrance, guys, like, you know, I'm going to be demoing a color melt here in just a second. And I feel like when you work with in the world of blondes and you're working with demi-permanents, the placement of what you're doing is far more important, right? It's not, you're not going to get a complete and total coverage from your shadow and things like that. As the demis start to fade, everything behind it still matters. What you did behind it still matters. Don't rely on the shadow or the smudge to make or break your look, because that's a demi-permanent. It's going to come out of the hair. And what's going to be left behind is your work. It's still there. It's like footprints in the sand. It doesn't necessarily go away. Maybe one washover exposes something new or something different, right? I mean, you may go in, you may shadow, and that day it looks incredible. They go home and they wash their hair with like Dove shampoo, or maybe they feel like they have dandruff, so they hit it with like a dandruff shampoo and it pulls your demi out. And then all of a sudden they're calling you saying, why does it look so blocky here in the front? Well, that's because you relied on the shadow and the smudge to remove that. So we don't want to do that. So I like to make sure that behind my demi-permanent work, I still have solid foil work, solid placement, and concepts and ideas behind the shadow and stuff that matter. You guys, shadows and smudges, and ultimately the blend is making its way out of hairdressing. I don't know if everyone is noticing that the same way that I am, but clients want to be lighter and brighter, and they want to get away from the blended look all the time. They're not afraid anymore to see highlights right to the scalp, but that doesn't mean they want things to be stripy. So it's up to you guys to make sure you know placements and things that are going to help them with that. If you can imagine how strong this money piece will look, and then if I gave her a full head of baby lights just behind all this, there'd be no need to root shadow. Why? Because my concept is light in the front and baby lights towards the back. So a lot of the clients that you'll see on my Instagram, and what you're going to see moving forward on other people's Instagrams as it grows, is your placement is creating shadows and effects light to dark without the need of having some sort of color there. That's going to give you the opportunity to formulate really cool blonde formulas like what Sam is doing and things like that, without feeling limited by the shadow and that kind of thing right there. So again, guys, we're going to get into the teasing section, right? This is no money piece if these pieces don't pop. If that just hangs there and it's dark, you're not going to get a money piece. So we're going to make sure that we pull them out away from our foils. This is all the hair left over. And a lot of the times I'll do this one as like one whole piece, right? So again, manipulate it around, perfect. We're gonna step around the face of our client here. So now my hair is over directed towards the front of the face, and there's an elevation. We're gonna give it a gentle push. And this part I'm gonna actually show you guys. I'm gonna put a bleach line in there, and I'm gonna start to drop this hair, and you're gonna watch. I want you guys to pay attention to how the hair shifts and what happens to the line of bleach, okay? So don't freak out that I'm about to paint like a hard line of bleach, okay? I want you guys to see it all actually come together, okay? So here's our lightener, and I'm gonna come through here, and I'm gonna paint like a real line in this hair. Okay, can everybody see that line? I hope you guys can see it. Okay? See how I've created a line. Now watch what happens as I start to move this hair down. Do you see that line stretch? Stretching, stretching, stretching. All of a sudden now, there's an angle, right? So now you guys can see, now we've created this soft angle right here, okay? Versus when it's all the way up here and this hair comes back to where it should be, it's a line. And then as we drop it, so this is the hair's natural fall, it's all gonna fall down here, you created an angle already. So this is like, was such a game changer for me, and I'm excited to share it with you guys because the teasing is what starts the blend. Your actual brush and you as the artist, you create the blend. That's 2 blends that you've created. Then now you're gonna start over directing the hair across the front of the face, allowing the natural fall to then elongate that line. So 1 tease, 2 with your brush, and 3 with your over direction. And I guarantee you, you're not gonna leave any more lines in the hair. So you don't have to rely on your formulation to fix lines that you've created, okay? We wanna formulate free. This is called choose your vibe. We want you to choose the vibe that you want, not feel like you're limited because your application didn't do what you wanted it to do, okay? So that's all I'm gonna demo here with the triangle money piece, so we can jump in and talk about vibrance, talk about the formulas. I'm gonna demo a color melt. If you guys have questions about this sort of stuff, feel free to DM me. Same with Sam, you guys can communicate with us on Instagram. But from here on out, we're gonna focus in away from Blonde Meat, away from the triangle money piece, and into more vibrant stuff. So I hope you guys enjoyed this little extra nugget for you guys today.
Thanks, Matt. So before we go totally away from Blonde Meat, I'm going to break down my placement a little bit more because the thing is, guys, it's that easy. I just haven't had to talk about it because it's genuinely that easy. It's 3 zones, okay? And then inside of the last zone is 3 zones, so the rule of 3. So Maggie's asked how I pre-lightened, and I pre-lightened with the Blonde Meat clay lightener in 40 volume process open air for 45 minutes, blended right into the scalp. My technique was just that, babe. I just painted it on and lifted. And I did that from right below the occipital bone all the way into the back of the head. And now it's even easier to see now that I have the 3 colors provided. For the nape, these sections are diagonal back. As you see them start to process, they are looking dark. Don't stress. That's okay. What's going to happen as I move up the head is that zone 2 is going to be a lighter shade than zone 1. So I'm going to get some free balayage or some free pops of colors, some free placement. Honestly, what Matt's talking about, I am too, guys. We're just doing it in a different, literally the cheesiest thing I can say, vibe. We're doing a different vibe. I chose mine and he chose his. And really, truthfully, when you see our 2 heads, they don't look that different. The energy there just comes from 2 different places. By taking this giant or bottom section here, zone 3, I get all of this lightning all the way through the head. So when I pick this up, you see it's really coming from all the way around. So when the darker hair falls on top, it looks like I lightened more here, but I didn't. I really just lightened below the occipital bone into the nape. And then above that, I'm going to do a darker color. So I'm just using the Blonde Meat clay lightener. I used that because she was a level 7. So realistically, that's something I could do at the shop. We always tend to go to the Blonde Meat Premium Lightener 9+. And side note, Matt and I had a phone call. So I knew he was using 9+. So I used the clay lightener. I like both. We can talk about more stuff. Nice and transparent, huh, guys? That's the truth. So as you see my colors start to process as well, you see this 9.5-98 and 0-88 mix. It looks really bright. It looks really pink. As it rinses away, it is going to kind of, I like to say, clear out. All of the big oxidized colors that we don't want to see, they're going to clear out. They're going to leave it really nice inside of the hair, and it's going to have a nice longevity and a nice shine because we're using this sugar aquasil that gets in there and works. So a little side note, if you itch a bit, it's not bad. It's normal. It's just moisture. It's okay. Don't freak out. Don't use the word itch ever again. I meant to say if it's tingling a bit. So what not to do's.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, guys. So here's a bit of the color melt that I did that I'm going to demo for you guys. There we go. Okay, her root shadow, that's 6-63 and 7-00. And the reason I decided to go with that is for two reasons. And let's start with the actual use of Vibrance and what you can do with it, okay? So you can see down here in the bottom, you'll see that the 7-00 and 6-63 with the 6-volume lotion, just like Sam was saying, guys, I use the lotion for control. I rarely root shadow with the gel, okay? A good friend of mine kind of taught that to me as I was trying to root shadow with the gel, and I felt like I wasn't getting the control. It kind of got into areas I didn't want it to, right? So that's why I like to use the lotion. The lotion comes in two different types. There's 6-volume and there's 13-volume, okay? 6-volume, like right here in this formula, is not going to affect your client's natural base, okay? You are not going to base break her. So if you are shadowing, and let's say you're shadowing with like a level 7, but the client's natural is closer to like a 6 and you're kind of worried, right? You don't have to drop your formula down if you don't want to, okay? It's a trick that I use a lot when I'm trying to do like a medium shadow. Okay, so not so much of a dark shadow like this, but like a medium shadow. Like if you guys see my hair, natural level 7, right? I don't shadow this with a 6 because I'm worried about breaking the base or exposing unwanted warmth. I shadow my hair with a 7, with just 7-0. And I don't have to worry about it because the 6-volume is not going to break that base and expose any unwanted warmth, which is great. But if your clients do have white hair, okay, if they have white hair and you want to do a shadow on them, what we're going to do is pre-lighten up our doll heads, right? Or our models, excuse me. Hopefully you're working on real people, not doll heads. And you're going to rinse all that out, wash all that out, bring your client back to the chair, okay? You're going to rough dry the root a little bit. It doesn't need to be totally dry. You're not trying to get full coverage. And you can use this exact same formula I'm giving you guys, the 7-00 with 6-63 with 13-volume. And that's when you're going to be able to create white hair blending. So think of it this way. If it's 6-volume, you will not break the base or shift the natural base of your client. If there's white hair of any kind, right, and you want to create that blend, then you can use the 13-volume lotion activator, and that will help to start that blending process. If you want to get maximum white hair blending, like what Sam was saying, we see total coverage all the time with Vibrance, right? We go into blend and we get beautiful coverage. You have to use the -00 series. You have to. It has to be at least a little bit of your formula, okay? The up to 70% white hair blending that the company can put on there for you guys only works if you use the -00 series, okay? You have to add some of it in there, okay? The other parts of the Vibrance line are going to give you more of like a 50% white hair blend and things like that. Personally, behind the chair for myself, when someone has white hair, they want a modern blonde look or a fun look like what Sam's doing, and they want you to cover up or blend away those white hairs. I'm not risking it, okay? We don't have time, right? There's no redo time nowadays. With the guidance of the CDC, we can only take one client at a time, right? There's no more time for redos. So make sure you add that -00 to your formula, okay? And then that way you can get that maximum white hair blending. Number 2, and the reason the formula looks like this is more for fashion, okay? When your clients show you a photo and the shadow looks like this, right? And you tell your client, oh, that's just a lighting trick. That's just a lighting trick. Yes, it is, but you're a better artist than that. We can mimic that lighting look, okay, by formulating differently, formulating with depth and formulating with colors that have a bit more correcting in it than we realize. Flatten out that color, okay? So by having a 7-00 with extra pigment, it always appears a little bit deeper than just a 7-0, right? And then the second color, 6-63. This is a level 6 chocolate brown, which is like a warm brown, okay? And then 3 is green. It's matte. So there's a little bit of green in there. Well, there's no red to cancel out on this side, okay? So what's the point of the green? Well, the green is going to flatten out the color. It's going to remove and flatten out the shine. Remember, you're not only using your underlying pigment and your cancellation colors to cancel unwanted tones. It also affects the reflection that you give and the reflection of light that your client sees. So that little bit of green, that little bit of extra pigment with the -00, and we can actually create that effect that looks like I figured out how to go on my phone and edit this lighting to make it look like that. But the reality is this is how she looks in person too. So don't just tell your clients, oh, that's a lighting trick, we can't do that, or that's a lighting thing and all that. We can figure out how to do that. So that was the concept behind this formula, was explain to you guys the white hair blending. Again, you need the -00, okay? You need to use a 13 volume. And then the second part of the concept of this formula was affect the lighting and the reflection by using your underlying pigment and extra pigmented colors like -00s. We want to be creative, right? And we want to show you guys more than just here's how you do a root shadow formula. So this is a bit more in-depth of a formula. It might be a bit exaggerated, or if it's over some of your guys' heads, if these formulas are too complicated, like feel free to DM us or throw it into the chat box right now, and we can try to break it down even easier for you guys. But that was the formula concept for this shadow, okay? And that was what I decided to go with. And then what we're gonna do is I'm gonna melt that into a pastel series 9.5-19. So you guys can see this is 9.5-19. Okay, the hair was pre-lifted, really, really light. See that look to it on the ends. And it was left to process for an entire 20 minutes. In the middle of your processing time, especially when you're working with blondes, Vibrance processes for 5 to 20 minutes, okay? 5 minutes in, you're not gonna see much going on. You gotta get it on at least 10 minutes. You have to, I promise you guys, okay? So what I always say is there's 2 checkpoints with toning blondes with Vibrance. At 10 minutes, if the color has turned over, which means it's starting to look deeper, it's starting to look dark, you can take it off right then. Yep, Sam, perfect timing right there with Sam's, right? Okay, you're starting to see that process, okay? My assistant knows to watch for it and come get me when she sees that turnover. Because sometimes I say, bam, take it off right now, okay? Or the second checkpoint is gonna be the full process of 20 minutes. I wanted you guys to be able to see the color of the 1.9. I wanted you guys to be able to see how beautiful that is, okay? And how like ashy almost it is, even though it's a pastel tone, okay? And so that's kind of the final look. So she was processed for a full 20 minutes. And then you guys are gonna see in here, there's like a third color, right? See that like kind of like mauve sort of tone? What we're gonna do is actually marry these 2 colors together. So imagine what we've created. We have an extra pigmented base that has a little bit of green into it, right? Just a very, very little amount. And then I'm gonna melt the 2 together with a pastel color for her ends. So along the way, okay, you're actually gonna see the transition from what's like a level 6.5 right here, watch it grow into more like a level 7 here, and that 8, and see these pieces starting to pop through that are more like the 9, the 10 range, and then her front hairline. See if I can lift it up without ruining it. Look at that. See that right there? Right? So as I work towards the front, I'll show you guys how I do not hit that front with as much of a blend to create that sort of look.
So I think that's like a good segue for me to bring in really quick how I'm applying zone 2, because Matt brought up a lot of things I want to talk about. He's talking about doing a shadow root, right? He said he's not like fully saturating it. He's going, we're not looking for white hair coverage right then in that conversation before he told you the formula. There's a lot of ways to apply Vibrance, guys, if you can't tell. Sometimes I barely shadow the root, right? Like I literally like touch it and skim it. Sometimes, like Matt was saying, when you need white hair coverage, I, of course, jump right to my -00 series, which whatever fashion shade I'd like. Normally, I don't even add enough 0-00 for it to change the shade. I'm just adding that 0-0 or that 00 because it has extra white hair coverage and it's going to help fill in that white hair. So if Matt used 6-99, it added some 0-00 on different levels. You could do a 5, you could do a 7. It's not going to take away all of his violet either. It's going to cover the white hair in the correct way. So he was able to use the 6-3, and we still see this beautiful chocolate neutralization without seeing all of that neutral, because that neutral was there to take care of those white hairs. What I'm doing has nothing to do with that. This stuff is not going to cover white hair. Okay, homies? Like, my stuff is for fun, all right? White hair coverage is fun as well. I'm sorry, Matt. I'm having a blast, and it's fun. I didn't mean that. But I'm more for, like, fun, bold formulas. So the way I'm applying my zone 2, and my zone 2 is 5-16 and 6 volume. If I wanted some white hair coverage, like Matt was saying, I could use 13 volume. Maybe if they only had 30% white hair, even 13 volume with 5-16 would cover those. When Matt was speaking, he's talking about higher percentages of white hair. You can even use 13 volume, maybe like right behind the ear, and cover that patch of white hair, and then 6 volume everywhere else if they're very light and you're worried about at all exposing any pheomelanin. But like Matt said, it's not going to break the base. You're not going to get any unwanted warmth. There's probably maybe 1 out of 100 scenarios where that could happen. So if that happens to you, I apologize for saying never. It could happen. But more than likely not, especially when he's talking about, guys, what was really important that he said was using like neutralizing tones and shades that do more for you than just that day. You can't just put 7-48 on someone's hair and expect it to look like this beautiful mauvey pink color forever. You've got to have that planned out as it rinses away. I mean, honestly, just killed it with that, because don't do crappy hair and then shadow root it. Everybody knows.
Don't do that.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I didn't. I had to bring it up. Yeah, like, it's too much. But there's a lot of ways you can shadow root. Even what I'm doing in zone 2 with 5-16 and 30 grams of 6 volume, so 1-to-1, is I took my applicator brush and I pressed right onto the scalp. But as I came down, I sort of pulled away, sort of like if you're trying to vacuum a shag rug, right? Like, you can't press on it, so you've got to kind of push up. Or if you're using clippers, right, we sort of do this motion of tension and then less tension, tension and then less tension. So you're able to shadow root even on like this mannequin at level 7. I'm dropping down 5-16 and I'm not fully saturating the ends. That has now created another formula. So I think I'm coming up on 612 formulas on one head. I mean, I got a lot, but it's easy. Just like Matt said, he didn't tell you another formula, but he made one, because all of those things make colors. And that's something you need to fully be aware of. Sans, choose your vibe. Just as hairstylist, real quick, heart reach out.
Yeah, let me interject in that too, Sam, because I think that's perfect time for me to say something to you guys. There's a lot of melting happening here, okay? Sam and I are both incredible blend artists, okay? But the reality of the situation here is you're not going to be able to do that if you're going to be going from permanent to demi, or from demi into permanent, where the two interject, you're going to run into problems, okay? That's why when we're talking about all these melting formulas, creating third formulas, all these different things, okay, connecting vibrance to vibrance is going to be the most consistent result that you're looking for. I'm not here to hinder your creativity. You do you, but going from IGORA Royale and melting it into vibrance is going to bring inconsistencies to your final product. So just like Sam was saying, she's got a ton of formulas. Make sure you know that the more formulas you do, the more creative you get. Keep it all in-house to have consistent results.
Yeah, he's right, guys. And I need you to, one more really important thing is grab the demi unless you can't. Okay, and I mean that all the way home. If you are not lifting a natural base or covering resistant white, high percentages of hair, you need to be using demi color for a lot of reasons. You look better, they look better, we look better, it looks good. That's it.
Yeah.
Permanent hair color, if it's not needed, it's creating a line of demarcation. It's exposing unwanted warmth. It's why a lot of you are having problems formulating, because you're using something that has more red than what we're talking about. We are talking about demi-permanent hair color, and we are depositing only, and we are depositing Oh, sometimes, guys, I'll use Agora Royale in one gray spot, and I will vibrance the rest of their head so that I can make sure that that is growing out the best possible way that it can. That's your job. Number one, that's your job. They need to come in looking good. And when you're able to use vibrance and do a great placement like that, you get healthy, great longevity. You look good on the streets. They look good at the store. You're getting referrals. And nobody's going to come every 4 to 6 weeks right now. Anyways, it's an 8 to 10 week world. So you need to figure that into sort of your book as well. So when you're doing a shadow like Matt, for me, I'm going to do that as a couple toners, right? That's not just one toner for my pricing and things like that. That's your artistic ability. So make sure that you give yourself credit for that. The verbiage here really too can be that permanent and demi-permanent color live in the hair about the same amount of time. Permanent hair color covers white hair and lifts a natural base that has not been colored. Other than that, you got about 20 to 25 shampoos, guys. That's it. Permanent hair color is not permanent. Even if you stain your clothes with a Sharpie and you wash it in the washing machine, you start to see the red underneath your clothes, right? I wear only black, so that makes sense to me. Excuse me if it doesn't make sense to you, but it's clear. So that's the same thing with hair. So it's going to fall out. It's always going to fall out. That's not our fault. Truthfully, refreshing your mids and ends with vibrance, if you have to use Royale, is actually going to give you more longevity than if you refresh with Igora Royale. So if you have to do a permanent retouch, please make sure that you're refreshing your mids and ends with vibrance and 6 volume, because it's going to be shiny. It's going to close the cuticle. It's going to make that hair actually, especially with your reds and things like that, last longer. So excuse the rant, but really important stuff that I think I can tell Matt agrees with.
No, I completely agree. And you have to remember too, guys, you pay your bills off of like the regular customers that come in. That's how you pay your bills, right? But the way you're going to go on vacation is by being able to change people's color. Okay. If you want to drive the BMW instead of your dad's old Corolla, which I had my dad's old Corolla for forever. Okay. You need to be able to change people's color. If you continue to take Debbie 70, that's always my reference client. Okay. Debbie 70. I have one. Everyone has one. She's in there every 4 to 6 weeks. She's getting the root touch-up done. You're refreshing her ends. If you keep refreshing her ends with permanent hair color, the day Debbie decides to come to you and say, you know what, it's summertime, which we're hitting right now. I want to pop some color in there. I want some blonde, some medium tones, all that kind of stuff. If you can't do that because you've just drilled permanent hair color into her mid-lengths and ends for the last 5-6 years, you're going to lose that client.
Yeah.
Right? And that you're going to lose that client's referral, because Debbie 70 doesn't send anyone in to see you because you cover her grays every 4 weeks, but she sends people in because that one time she wanted highlights before Hawaii, you gave them to her and they were incredible and they were beautiful, right? And so you just upservice yourself. Debbie sends in her friend who has highlights. She says, oh, I didn't even know that your guy or girl knew how to do highlights. All of a sudden you have another new client. Now your services have been increased. Your income is increased and you're making more money. Don't limit yourself with permanent hair color. I meet new clients all the time that want blonde transformations. It's the #1 thing that I do behind the chair. And I tell my assistant, there's permanent here. We're limited. But the clients that have been with me for a while, like Sam said, we're using so much demi. I only use permanent if I absolutely have to. Those ones I can change, transform, adjust, do all this stuff to without any problems. Right? It's a lot easier to lift and remove demi than it is to remove permanent hair color. So think about your business in the long term, not just the short term. Okay. So I'm going to get into this part of the shadow right here. This is the front hairline. Okay. This is where you guys need to be more careful with your shadows. Okay. So right around here where I start to get towards that front. Okay. I start to separate this bottom part from this top part. Okay. This half has already been pre-done. Okay, but normally speaking, this part isn't done yet, right? And so I don't want to be tossing any pieces over to this side and get color on this part, right? We've all done them. We've all had it happen where you have kind of a splotchy hairline because of your shadow root. It just happens, okay? So what I like to do is stop right here, have 2 separate areas, okay? And instead of taking these long vertical sections like I was doing, okay, I'm going to stop. And I'm going to get myself recentered and refocused. Don't apply to this bottom one. Apply to the top one first. Why? Because this hair actually wants to fall over here, which means if you do that and you get this one looking good, when you section this one, it falls, and this area right here tends to hit right here. Happens to me all the time, all the time. Okay, so I like to stop here, and I'm going to start shadowing this top section actually forward towards the face like this. Okay, and I'm just bringing it down just a little bit. And again, I stand over the top of my clients. I'm going to section out this next part right here. And the reason I like this is because I'm in control of the elevation of the front hairline. So I can lift this up, hold it in full control, and apply nicely. And then continuing to keep this hair up, I can grab this piece, hold it up. And you guys can see it's starting to come forward. When you apply forward, it moves to the hairline. Okay? And I can apply to this hairline. This entire hairline, okay, if you guys remember, if you guys can see on this side how important that look is, so you guys can see how like beautiful that transition is. You need to keep this hair's elevation up here. Don't allow it to fall forward. The second you lose elevation, you lose control over that, okay? And I don't want you guys to lose control over that when you're applying your shadows, okay? And now we can continue to keep our elevation and put the hair on the opposite side of our client. Now I work with this underneath with no interference and no worry. Did you guys ever think that far into a root shadow? I think it's kind of crazy, but sometimes I think that far into a root shadow. I don't know, Sam, do you think that far into root shadowing someone?
Yeah, are you kidding me? I'm over here like, it doesn't even matter how like, there's a lot of things Matt could accidentally do wrong right now, and because it's like pre-sectioned on diagonals and he's doing all these things, it's still gonna look great. Like, he solved his problems like tenfold before they happen. I hope you guys realize what I mean, because that's a little like cryptic, but truthfully, he's taken diagonals, he's taken soft angles, he's swept things. That's what balayage is about, is you know, those soft angles. And he's not done it with a shadow root, he's done it with the technique, and then created longevity in a shadow root by being able to apply it the way he can. Some people have to come down lower and they lose these bright, beautiful pieces. But I mean, even just, not just how clean he is, but really just the way the section is taken. You're just nailing it. It's all the things I would do.
So if you guys look here, okay, I told you I would not drop this forward, and I wouldn't, but just based on Sam's point, I want to show you guys how like naturally soft that shadow root already looks. Let me bring her closer. So I'm not relying on the melt to create the shape. Okay, we've created this shape. See how nice that front already looks? Okay, now we're going to go through and we're going to melt everything together with our second color.
Yeah, the nice thing is too, guys, is that both of us, you could bring Matt's shadow down 6 more inches if you wanted. You could bring my placements higher up. But we're really just showing you the probably cleanest, most simple way of doing it for both of us, I believe. We chatted about that just to make sure we would have time to kind of kick it and have fun. But you can do it either way. So if you have someone coming in, and the really cool thing about what I love when I shadow root my clients is that the farther you go down, the funkier they sort of feel in the beginning, but then those highlights do come out if you formulate it correctly. So they feel great for like 10, 12 weeks because they had hidden highlights. And as that demi-color rinses away, those highlights are under it, and Matt's neutralized them. He's made them beautiful, and they're ready for, honestly, man, I could do like this in 1 hour and 15 minutes, almost in and out, because I'm only needing to do like 6 or 7 pieces of balayage every few appointments because the business was just handled correctly.
Yes.
It's great. And you can do everything he's doing and not have a money piece. You know, that's something really important. Is maybe it's your client's first time coming in and you're going to use Vibrance to do a shadow root on them. Do what Matt did and don't touch the front at all. So when they pull their hair back, they feel blonde. Because let me tell you, your first time brunettes, and I'm talking about level 8s and level 7s, think they're brunette. Okay? So you got to trick their mind, right? You want to shadow root them. You got to trick their mind. So maybe what he's showing you here, where you're just tapping slightly off the face, you do that and then shadow root the rest of the head, and you actually don't do any lightening going into fall. I'm just giving you sort of like, because what he's showing you is so clean and precise that you've got to be able to break that down now that you can see it, into 100 other ideas. And as a book stylist, and I don't normally take too many new people, I plan my day every day before I go to work, because I'm in a place where I'm not doing too much corrective color, because like Matt said, I'm using Vibrance. I'm using, we got a question up here about why we don't use heat with the Blonde Me 7 volume. I'm using the appropriate lighteners. I'm taking care of the porosity of the hair. I'm giving them maybe a treatment, maybe some fiber clinics. I'm sending them home with something. All of this stuff is taken care of to the point where in 6 to 8 to 10 to 12 weeks, I can literally know what I'm going to do on someone that I haven't spoke to. And I retain them because I do not just give Debbie 7-0, exactly like he said. If I've been giving Debbie 7-0 for a year, I think I'm lazy. It's time for me to figure something out.
Yes. Yeah, it is.
Even if it's just that I'm putting slices of 8-4. Even if it's that I'm putting slices of 6-4, you know, just anything to create depth. That's how you retain people, guys. I've been doing people's hair for 10 years. I was not good in the beginning. I just let them, you know, you can emotionally connect to people before you're good at your job. So I have some people like that, but I still will not lose them. And I would not do the same thing to their hair for more than maybe 6 months to a year. So just, I like that kind of shift of using Vibrance. So excuse my rant, but it's important. So now I've got my color all applied. I'm gonna pop my grill off so you can kind of see, since we're in a small space. It's a little harder since we're not all live. But I've got these cotton, just keeping off of the base. So at the very top, on this top section, just here through this horseshoe, you can see right above the occipital bone to the parietal ridge, we're going to do 5-16 and 3-19 and 6 volume. I made this formula for the first time for this class, and I'm going to use it all the time. It's beautiful. And back to what Matt was saying, like, problem solving formula all day, because it's got violet, it's got 1, it's got 6. Sometimes, guys, you can't problem solve with level 7 and 8. You got to go down to a 5 and a 6 sometimes, okay? You got to explain it to Jill. You got to tell her that's what's up. But when she comes back in, that Vibrance has neutralized a lot of that orange that you don't have to futz around with if you can neutralize with some of your toners. So 5-16 and 3-19, 1-to-1, mixed with 6 volume. And I processed for 30 minutes. Matt, I 100% agree. If you've got somebody who maybe I'm doing 9.5-98 and 0-88 for her to do like a mud run, and she needs a pink strip and it can rinse out in, 5 shampoos, you can leave that on for 5 minutes and get that from that. Some of it's going to rinse away in 5 shampoos anyways, depending on the porosity of the hair, guys. So have that conversation when you're using the 9.5s to create fun pastel tones. Not like Matt's, but like pastel tones like mine, where you're trying to see the pink and see the purple. That can rinse away quickly. So make sure that you talk about it.
Okay, guys, let's talk about finger dedication in your color melting. Okay, color melting is not something that we all need to take lightly. It's something I think we need to be a little bit more serious about. Okay, these two, the peace sign is where I melt. Okay, these 2 fingers are dedicated to my melting. I grab the sections with my pinky. The pinky is clean. I dedicate the peace sign to my melt, and I dedicate the top of this hand and the palm of this hand to only the lightest color. Okay, so the way that I like to do this is these fingers are all clean. I can manipulate my section with them. I'm going to grab my lighter color 9.5-19, okay, which is a pastel blue violet with a violet kickback to it. I'm going to apply away from my shadow color, use my peace sign to melt the light down into the dark, then grab the dark and melt it into the light, and then just repeat back and forth. We are literally marrying these 2 colors and creating a 3rd color. If you are creating a root tap, don't do this. Don't do it. Your client does not want this. They want like my hair. My hair is a tap. We tap it and it always looks like I'm just a lived in right off the beach. If you melt it, you're going to remove too much of my highlight, okay? So don't do it. But we're going to use our peace sign and literally move those 2 together. Can you guys see that like color right there? That is a melted of those 2 colors, okay? Then remember, this part of my hand is clean, okay? The palm to the back side of my hand And then I'm going to apply my lighter color all the way to the ends and use the inside of my hand to blend them together. So I'll kind of show you guys again, okay? I'm going to grab a section with my pinky.
Guys, what he said is really important. He's doing a color melt, okay? Not a root tap. This person, if you did this, this girl would feel like, not turn my hand around!
Yes.
You would lose your shit. Excuse my French, but no way. So it's really, really, really clear on that. I'm glad you said that, because those people have two different goals.
Yeah. Again, peace sign, melting, marrying the two, marrying the two. If I do a root tap, I do the root tap at my chair, go back to the shampoo bowl, rinse the root tap, then apply my toner to the blonde. But when I'm doing any sort of melt or smudge or anything like that, okay, I'm going to go ahead and do it all right here, right at the same time. So there you go, peace sign to create the blend, back of the hand to put the lighter color on. Okay, I have dedicated inside of the palm to the lighter color of both hands like that. No extra tools, no extra stuff. You're maintaining your elevation. See how I'm continuing with that elevation I talked about? Don't color melt down, color melt up.
Matt, do you ever feel like at the bowl you would have an issue if you used a dark shade bleeding into your blonde, or you never have that issue, right?
Where at? In the bowl?
The shampoo bowl, when you go to shampoo. If somebody were to be maybe using a darker shade than you or worried about the pigment runoff, do you ever experience anything like that?
Yeah, you guys, if you're shadowing really, really dark, okay, if you're doing like a high contrast blonde, okay, like let's say you're going to put a root shadow on her and it's going to be like a level 4, right? Or something like that, or a level 5 or a level 3, and her ends are really, really light, okay? I've never experienced a runoff of the shadow onto the blonde color. Demis just don't seem to grab that quickly.
I agree.
It's not, yeah, it's not the same as like a permanent hair color. But what I will say is if you add a bunch of fashion tones to your root shadow and the ends are extremely porous, like I know Sam has a 319 in one of her formulas, just use cool water. Okay, use cool water and rinse it really quickly and then get shampooed really fast. If for any reason, let's say you shadow 319 and the porous front pieces pick up a little bit of that pinky color in the shampoo bowl from the runoff, that's going to show up, or a violety tone, it's a demi and it hasn't had time to really process. Hit it with a little shampoo, it'll pop right off. So you don't got to freak out about that sort of stuff.
I totally agree. That's why I wanted you to tell them.
Yeah.
Well,
what if I didn't agree? What if I didn't agree? What would you have said?
Well, I mean, you do hair the right way, so I know you. But the thing is that more importantly, even if it did a little, all of the tones that you picked live cohesively. So it's not like you picked some weird green that if it touched the red on the bottom at all is going to neutralize it. If you're doing something like that, guys, think about it. But again, like he said, it's demi. It's not like this big old powerful dye stuff that's going to come and like, like eat everybody.
Yeah.
Especially if the hair is already wet. In my placement that I did, I could have done the 319 as I pre-lightened the ends and just got that out of the way as well. But I wanted to show you guys all of the colors going on, since what I'm doing is rather simple today. It's actually probably one of the easiest things I do, but it's quite effective. So cool. I'm glad that you don't have that problem. Do you ever, after doing this, like apply lightener to the ends of your hair and do like a wet balayage?
You totally could. I don't do any toning and then lifting, right? Cool. Once I've toned. I'm done. Yeah. Right? I'm not gonna do any more lifting. I would do everything pre-lifting. The only thing that would happen after my toners might be a purple shampoo.
Great.
Like I've just recently in the last few months have been, instead of doing purple shampoo and then toning, I've almost been allowing myself to lift to the proper spot, tone the hair, and then use purple shampoo afterwards to get sort of an ashier sort of tone that I'm looking for, versus using the purple shampoo in the middle. But once I'm done toning, I'm pretty much done toning. Okay?
Yeah,
Here, guys, in the front piece, remember how I used the peace sign was dedicated to our melt? We're not going to melt this front so we can see that beautiful look. So I applied the lightener, or the toner right to the line, and I'm just kind of moving it up using the outside of my pinky, right? And I'm just kind of pushing the two together. If you push the light into the dark, okay, you will not like, how do I say this? If you push the light toner into the dark toner is going to win every day. So when we were smudging back and forth, the dark toner is going to win that battle. But when I take my light and I press it in like this area is going to stay nice and light. That area is going to stay nice and dark. The dark area wins every time.
Yeah, he's right, guys. And something important about that when you're thinking about toning at all is making sure that you're going to the right level. Matt and I are patient lifters. We're doing it. We're saturating. We're using the proper developer, which for him right now is 7 and 20 volume for Blonde Me. That's what we recommend. I know we got a question. We would never use heat. The heat, we're bringing the heat, okay? It's in the can. Like, we don't need to bring any more heat. Like, it's there. You're fine. So I'm not trying to get on his technique. I can just see the questions, guys. So I'm just kind of giving you, I know Matt's answer. It's not that we know our answer because we spoke. It's because chemistry is the one unmanipulable thing here. And that's what I'll answer for him. I won't answer his techniques, but I'll let you know that he did not use 7 volume or a heat, excuse me, with his lightener. No. I used 40 volume and Blonde Me, which seems strong, but I process open air. And I did that because she was level 7. And like I said, we spoke. So you can use all sorts of different things to do this. But if Matt didn't get his mannequin up today to this level 9, 10, he can't tone with it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if 811 was the goal. If you are a level 7, 811 does not work. So if Matt lifted up today and had these dark orange highlights and our plan was to do 9.5-19, Matt and I have to have a phone call in the morning and he has to do 7-77 and something else because you cannot put the wrong level no matter what on the hair. It doesn't matter. And you need to remember that 9.5 means pastel toner. So I think in my mind, it's like level 1 being dark, level 10 being light. That needs to be that light. Okay, guys?
Okay.
You see it already start to oxidize, which is nice. Yeah. You see it start to live together. It's beautiful.
Yes. So you guys can see that's how much time I put into any sort of color melting or shadowing. Definitely it's all done back at the chair. Okay. It's rarely done at the shampoo bowl. Like Sam was saying, we're both patient lifters. Average time for an appointment like this one is going to be 4 hours in that sort of range. Okay. There's just too much going on. It's too complicated. There's too many formulations, the blend, all that kind of stuff. The last thing you want to do is not pay enough attention to, like Sam was saying, smart formulations where you know that they're going to blend correctly. And then 2, you don't want to mess it up in your application. So you don't want to be rushing yourself. Okay. So it's very, very important, you guys, that if you are going to do these types of services and you see the incredible artists that are like the guest artists like Sam and myself and our other guest artists, or you see the Schwarzkopf influencer team, Maggie M and B Scene and all these people, okay? And Liz Haven especially, she's a master of being patient. These are people that work with Schwarzkopf on the daily. The clients they're doing, I will tell you guys, it's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hours. So you have to be able to understand that, realize that, and know that heat is only making your process faster and only making that hair weaker, okay? The faster you finish someone, the weaker their hair is afterwards, period. Every time, always. Even if their hair is strong, okay? If you decide to use heat, you're going to weaken the inner structure of that hair. Those molecules are bouncing around like crazy, okay? You're already using Blonde Me. You're already grabbing the strongest lightener on the market. Yeah, and it's opening up those cuticles. The molecules are bouncing around like crazy. Then you go ahead and you put heat on top of it, okay? And all of your hydrogen molecules are going to go wee, and they're going to get out. They're going to disappear from the hair. Mm-hmm. If you lose hydrogen, H2O, which is moisture, you lose elasticity. You lose elasticity, the hair breaks. You start breaking people's hair, you work at Burger King. We're hairdressers. Stay hairdressers. Don't break people's hair. Cool?
I couldn't agree more. It's really important, guys. And to back that, Matt chose a high maintenance client. I chose a low maintenance client. We have a veil of dark on the top. My girl doesn't need to come back in, right? Pricing can be the same because I'm using a lot of colors and stuff like that. But Matt's model is going to need to have her hair redone, as opposed to mine could maybe look a little shifty underneath and not anybody see it for a while. So that's something we did discuss. We talked about doing different things. We're different people, but secretly, guys, we do the same hair.
Yes.
You
Very
can't
similar, very similar.
do everybody's hair like this, right? I had a mannequin. So this is really showing you like what could look like high maintenance hair, but you don't ever really need to return, because I have this veil of 319, and then underneath it, the 516, which looks like balayage. And then even below that, the fun sort of, you know, punky pop colors that come through. So upside down, she's a whole different person.
Yeah.
So you can have fun, funky, awesome days, and they be two different totally people. One that's going to make you money every 6 months, and one that's going to make you money every 6 weeks.
Yes.
The common factor is that Matt nor I would ever be lazy or use heat or break the rules, exactly like he's saying. It's not that we're better hairstylists than anyone. It's just that we've driven home this point now of totally using the chemistry of the product the right way.
Yeah.
But artistically, whenever hell way we want, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. If you guys are so busy behind the chair that using heat is the only way to make it through your day and get all of your clients in, you need to be more expensive. That's just the reality of it. I mean, if you're so busy that you're breaking hair, damaging hair, using heat to make things happen faster, I would just be more expensive and allow some of your clientele to drop off so that you can maintain the integrity of the hair and the integrity of you as an artist. I can guarantee there's nobody out there that's going to be an educator that's going to be about speedy, fast hair. They're going to be about the art, right? And the project behind the art. So definitely don't use heat. Want to hammer that fact home. Like Sam said, this is more of a high maintenance client. The color melts are going to fade. They're going to want to come back in and melt. I probably see most of my clientele works like this. I see you for a transformation color melt just like this, right? Like, you know, from the color that this doll head was, right, into this, right, from that to all that, right? We have like a color transformation go on. I'll see them for that appointment. Then 2 months later, they come back and we root shadow them and put their blonde toner back on. Usually they need some kind of treatment or a haircut. Then 2 months from then, I see them for like a face frame or a partial with a color melt, all that attached to it. They're in the shop every 2 months if they really want to maintain it right. But only once a year are we really hitting this like major transformation appointment of 5-6 hours, that type of thing. So, you know, your high maintenance clients can provide more of a rapid flow of income. But again, they're going to want to have changes done. Make sure you're using demis. Try to avoid permanent color if you possibly can. That's just like the way. And honestly, that's how my business just kind of rolls in and out. Like Sam said, some people I see every 6 months, some people I see every 2, you know, and I think a lot of the times we see returns on clients like Sam's creativity, and you see returns of clients like blonde transformations, because it's not just happening and destroying the hair, it's happening and the hair is still healthy. I work with clients that other hairdressers wouldn't touch because the hair is so damaged, but I'm just willing to give it a go because I know all the rules I need to know to take care of that hair the best I can and not make it any worse.
And we share those with our clients. I'm not hoarding any information that will help you, is the bigger thing. If you came to me and you had permanent level 3-0 on your hair, I'm not going to say, let's try and see where we get. I'm going to say, whoo, I'm going to try, but we're going to have about a 30-minute conversation about how you're not going to be pissed off with me when this doesn't work, because of 2 reasons. I know it's probably not going to, and if it does, great day. And number 2, she's got a mouth. So if I don't tell her that it might not work, she's going to use that mouth and tell people that I didn't know what I was doing. And I do know what I'm doing. I fully know about that pheomelanin and the dye stuff and the pigment that's inside of everything. It's always studied. I mean, I've had a year to hyper focus on it. But that's the truth, is that if you vocalize to them the way the appointment's going to go and what could happen and what will happen, they will trust you. You will retain them, and then Matt will get her blonde. It's just going to take him a little bit of time so that when she uses the BC Monicure Silver Shampoo, that her ends aren't purple and her top's platinum. He's going to make sure her porosity is okay.
So you guys were asking, Sam was talking about how light I was able to lift her. No heat, right? Blonde me, 7 volume, work my way up to 20. Okay, you have to imagine the way that I usually do my clients is I work the back of the head first, starting with Blonde Me 7 volume. Okay, and I'll do both the back sides. Usually the back is split into 2, right? Then by the time I get to my front, I'm actually really hoping I have a like dialed back version of a 7 volume Blonde Me, because the front hairline is so porous it tends to lift quickly. The last thing you want to do is jump from 7 to 20 right when you start doing the front hairline. You don't need a fresh bowl to break all those little baby hairs, right? And that kind of stuff. So I wanted to show you guys, this is how light that I lifted her, what I lifted her to before doing the toning process. It's the inside of the banana. It's never changed. It'll never change. That's always what you're looking for, okay? You don't want to overlift your clients and remove all the natural pigment that's in the hair, okay? So if you get really aggressive with 20 and 25 volume right here on the hairline, you are going to remove all that yellow pigment out of the hair, and there's nothing for your colors to hold on to, right, Sam? People just like, you don't want to lift to white. You want to lift to the inside the banana yellow where there's still current pigment in the hair that you can manipulate, right? Pigment needs other pigment to be friends to stick around. If they don't have other friends to hang out with, they just wash right off the hair and they're out of there, okay? No one goes to a party when there's nobody there. You go to a party when there's people there.
Yeah, you can't paint through the wall that you sanded away.
Yes.
You gotta be able to, you might need to sand the wall a little, but if you sand the wall away, there's nothing to hold on. And whatever level he's at right now, whatever that is to your mind. So to me, that's 10. Yeah. That's perfect for 9.5. Okay, guys. Any darker than that, you probably need to add in a little level 9 just to give it a little more pigment. Don't forget, you can do that. I think a lot of people get real twisted on the formulas you can make, but 9.5-19 could be a starting point if you're not light enough. Add in some 819, add in some 9.4. You know, there's all sorts of things you can do to make sure, back to what Matt was saying, that you've taken care of the real problem and you've neutralized and made sure that the hair is going to be beautiful later. Off level is not right.
Yeah. Yes. Very, very true. Very true. And you guys need to remember too, like, there's very few times that I end up with Blonde Me 30 volume. It's mostly just because the speed of the lift happens so quickly, but the die off happens so fast as well. Okay. So the power of the lift comes from your lightener, but the longevity of your lift, the consistency of your lift comes from your developers. So 30 volume is going to be more of a spike in lift and a faster drop off. 40 volume is going to be an insane lift and a really fast drop off. 20 volume is going to be your most consistent run of lift. So a lot of the times we go 7 volume, we mix 7 and 20 together to make roughly a 15, then 20, then 25. I'm not getting to Blonde Me 30 very often. It's just, there's no need. Okay. So you guys can see, like, when that kind of lift happens and occurs, right, and we get to those level 10s, you get these really, really beautiful ends where the pastel colors actually show up. If you're not lifted enough, the pastel toners and vibrance are not going to show up. The fashion tones that Sam is showing you are not going to show up if they're not lifted light enough. That's the number one thing. Okay, you have to make sure that you're lifting your clients up light enough. People aren't getting enough lift, okay, and then they use demi-permanents to do toners, and then they say that product doesn't work. And it's not that the product doesn't work, it's that it wasn't lifted to the right area, okay? So that's where I want to kind of go to you guys really fast, is just kind of let you guys know and remind you guys that the saturation and the lift that you get works right alongside the results you're going to get, like that what Sam is showing you guys, okay? If you lift someone to a level 8 and you put 819 on there, demi-permanent vibrance, okay? 819 is a level 8 blue, violet, violet, okay? If they're lifted to level 8, which is underlying pigment yellow, and you put 819 in vibrance on that, all you're going to do is neutralize the yellow and get a neutral level 8. You will not see the fashion tones that Sam has been able to create. If you lift your client to a level 9, okay, and then put 8-19 on there, you actually deposit the blue violet tones and the violet secondary tones into the hair. That's how you can create fashion tones and fashion blondes with your clients. It's not about the product. It's more about the lift and then your creativity to choose the vibe you're looking for. But if you don't know where to go first, you don't know what to put on to get what you are looking for.
Absolutely. Because this was probably a level 9, and I knew 819 wouldn't actually make me purple even at a level 9 because the 9 is secondary. So we've got this level 8 with the cendre, which I knew would just neutralize. Maybe I would be dusty, how your mannequin is. Still 819, right? Still the same family. So I did put 6-99 in here, and it's 2-to-1. So I've got 2 parts 819 because I didn't want to make it a level 6, but exactly like he said, I was lighter than a level 8, but I still wouldn't have seen the purple that I wanted to see if I used 8-19. It would have still neutralized, even at a level 9, more than I was going for. I mean, it would have been a beautiful, like, dusty mauve or something, but you wouldn't have gotten this, bounce. Same thing back here. Like, if you look in, I have these giant sections, but it still has the same energy of a balayage because I took everything on a diagonal, on the curve of the head, nice and round. So we're getting all of this kind of like free, trendy hair without needing to be more her high maintenance. I'll do whatever you want. I don't care. But she doesn't have to come back in because she has, and I gave her bangs because I thought it would look better up.
Yeah. You guys see how Sam's, if we can bring Sam's formula back on the screen, the 699, 819, and I perfect. Awesome. That was so smooth. It came up so fast. This right here, guys, I call these supporting formulas. Okay. So there's 20 grams of 819, right? That's a fantastic amount. That's 20 grams. If you add 10 grams of 699, what you're doing is supporting that secondary pigment of 9 in Sam's primary target color of 819. So think about it this way. 819, that's Sam's target. That's what she wants it to look like. But we want to see more of that violet tone. She's able to get that. It looks incredible. The reason she did that was because she supported the 819. She supported that 9 by adding in the 699. Does that make sense to everybody?
And the other guy is just the same, Matt. Exactly like you said. It's 7-48 and 9-7. And then I wanted a little extra copper, so I only did 2 grams. So it is 1-to-1, but I knew 9-7 being a level 9 with copper wouldn't have quite as much copper as I wanted. But 7-77 would have been too much copper. So I really wanted it to stay a level 8. So instead of then I just picked a little bit of the booster, and you end up with this sort of like rosy pumpkin. It's a lot, I hope it's coming across through here. It's a lot pinker in real life than it's seeming to sort of be on the camera. But exactly, I just wanted this, I really wanted to look close to 748. But I know on white hair, that wouldn't happen. So I love it. Yeah.
I love it. The idea of supporting formulas, guys, is so important. I don't think people do enough support of formulas. And I think that it's something that is really going to be coming into trend right now because people are looking for bolder colors and more types of colors. Okay, our clients are more demanding of the tone of their colors ever. The reason I chose to do mine the way I did is because this is what I'm doing behind the chair right now. I did one last week. I have a request for 2 of them coming in this week. It's this dusted, almost nude-like champagne tone. I've had multiple requests for it. And everyone wants to run to the beiges, but that's going to completely mute out that blonde. So you want to make sure that you're supporting things the correct way and that kind of stuff. So on top of supporting your toners, like what Sam's doing, you can always as well as dilute toners. Vibrance has a 0-00. Okay, 0-00 is a clear color. It comes in 2 sizes, the normal container size, which looks like this. Okay, This is the size. You can get just 0-00 like this, or you can get it in the back bar size, which is a bit bigger. And before we just jump into like trying to answer questions, I want to make sure we go over the 0-00. If you add 0-00 to your formula, you need to add that same amount of activator. So if you have 30 grams 811, 30 grams 0-00, you need to make sure that you add 60 grams of whatever activator you're choosing. Okay? If you decide to use the activator or the 0-00 by itself as a shine treatment, you do not need to add any activator. That's why we have a back bar size. So you can do an upsell service and tell your client, would you like a shine treatment today? It's going to make your hair reflect and just look beautiful. And then you charge them whatever you want to charge them. And it happens in the shampoo bowl with no activator added. Okay, so rinse, tone, and then you're going to go in and you can do a shine treatment before your conditioner. Okay, I've seen it done after the conditioner. I prefer to do it before I condition the hair. But you can use that on its own as well. So there is a shine. So while Sam and I have done a great job of supporting formulas today and mixing formulas today, you do have the power with 0-00 to dilute formulas as well. I originally had a formula on my doll head that had some diluter in it, but coming across camera, it just didn't look like anything at all. You couldn't see it.
One quick thing I want to say about diluters is never forget the color wheel though, guys. So clear is white, okay? So if you're cutting orange, it's going to make yellow. Sometimes go to the supportive thing that's going to make things more of what you're looking for. So he's cutting and manipulating, but his intention is always there with the thought of the color wheel. Also, one quick last thing about Matt's formula. If you were not as light as Matt, that 9.5-19, because purple is a secondary color, it is red and blue, right, guys? So if you weren't as light as him, you can actually get a kind of orangey mauve sort of tone from the 1-9 family if you're not right on level. Mm-hmm. Purple has warmth in it, guys. It's a tertiary or secondary color, right? It's not real. So we're making it. So if you took 0-00 and 8-19 and you cut it in half, just remember that Sandra is blue violet and 9 is violet, and when you start to cut them, they make new colors. They don't just go lighter. They also make a new tone, which is awesome. And you can mix and match everything in the IGORA Royal that you want to. But I just wanted to say, I know he's thinking of the color wheel, but I just want to make sure you guys know we are always thinking of the color wheel. So if you took, 6-88 and you cut that with 0-00, you're going to start to see orange. You're going to start to see warmth. Things are going to be brighter.
Good. Cool. Yeah. Purple becoming pink. Pretty common, huh?
I had to bring that one up because it happens so often. I think people go to the 1-9 and they're like, oh, it's blue violet, and then it's backed up by violet. But violet is a secondary color, so it has red. And so if the hair isn't lifted all the way up, or if they use permanent hair color and it's that fake yellow or fake orange from inside of the tube, not our real pheomelanin, it sometimes can just activate on a pinker way. Exactly.
Yes. Yeah. I have a good experiment for you guys that you can do at home too. Okay, you're gonna take a glass of water, okay, and then I also want you to get a bucket of water, okay, and you're gonna fill the bucket of water to the brim, and you're gonna fill the small glass to the brim, and then you're gonna take a purple color dye, like food dye, food dye, a purple one. And you're going to drip that one drop only into the small glass of water and stir it up. And you'll see that you turn that glass of water purple, right? Because it's purple food dye. But then when you take a giant bucket of water where there's so much more water, as in you've diluted it, and you drop in one drop of food coloring purple and mix it up, it does not look purple. Okay, it looks lavender. And the lavender has a bit more of a pinkish hue to it. That's what Sam's talking about with the diluter. Once you start diluting things, it's not only going to change the look and feel of your color, but it's going to change that color completely, right? If you take purple and you dilute it and dilute it and dilute it and dilute it, before you know it, you have pink. It's like a rosé kind of tone.
Absolutely.
So always be thinking about that if you decide to start cutting colors, if you decide to start diluting colors, okay? You are diluting like the actual amount of pigment that's there. It doesn't change the fact that it's a level 8 purple, right? Blue, violet, purple. but you've removed so much of it at a certain point, it just kind of looks violet-y, like it looks kind of pinkish. So that's a good experiment that you guys can try at home. I've done it before, and it's kind of a lot of fun, where you can test different colors in larger amounts of water. The more water you have, that's essentially the more diluter that you're adding to your color. The less water you have, that's closer to what your color is actually going to look like. It works really good with purple, and it works really good with red. It does not work with yellow. Eventually, yellow just doesn't do anything at all. And green, you guys can find out on your own. It's kind of gross, but it goes from like a really cool like emerald green color, and then if you use like a big bucket, next thing you know, you have this like weird, like gross, limey kind of color. It's kind of fun. So you guys can do that on your own if you guys want to. We have about 25 minutes left. I don't know if you guys have been dropping questions in the chat box, if we can get into some of that kind of stuff.
We have this one here from Gina. So she said, if you lift from a dark brown level 4 to go eventually to a level 10, what do you use in the meantime to cut the brass? Gina, that's a hard answer because we can't see where you've lifted to. So it's the important things that we've said today are to make sure that you tone on level.
Yeah.
Make sure you're using the color wheel. You're neutralizing, red kills green, or excuse me, green kills red, blue kills orange, purple kills yellow. We have a color wheel, and you can kind of even shoot across if you've lifted. But that's a hard answer because from a level 4 to a blonde is a process in itself. I'd say your first one will probably, you need to even drop back down to a 6.
Yeah, see, I agree. So, and I know why you're asking it, and Sam's answer is completely right. And what you're wanting me to do is tell you that putting a level 6 on there isn't the right thing because it's counterproductive towards your next appointment, right? But that's the reality of the situation. If you start at a level 4, Sam and I are going to assume that you're landing somewhere in the underlying pigment chart of orange, maybe red still, right? So we're talking 5s, 6, 7, that sort of range, right? And so you're going to need to be dropping your level down 1 to fully cancel and neutralize all of that. If the client is committed and understands that they need to find the joy in this process all the way through, then you're going to remove the level concept completely. And you're going to tone only based on underlying pigment and color wheel, okay? This only works if your client understands this, okay? If they get to a level 7, but it's super orangey, right? It's not even yellow orange. It's just kind of like orange, but it's really like that level 7 sort of range, right? You can go in with a level 8, okay? Because you have to stick with me here, guys. You can go in with a level 8, 811, right? That's a blue violet. But it's a level 8. Normally speaking, if someone was lifted to a level 7, toning at a level 8 ain't going to do anything at all. But if you add 0-22 to your formula, okay? So that's why I'm saying it only works if they're kind of orange. If there's too much yellow, blue and yellow make green, okay? I know this is risky, I know, but I'm trying to just advance upon that question. If you add a little bit of 0-22, which is 0 level
2 grams, guys. Like he's not talking about like.
I'm talking like you said, 2 grams, 2 chocolate chips. That's it. To the formula, you drop your reflective capabilities of a level 8. You drop the tone of a level 8 towards more of a tone of a level 7, a level 6, okay? Blue reflection with light is living more around that level 6 range. So essentially what you're doing is you're creating a deep version of 811 with a little bit of 022, a very little bit, and you're allowing the blue to neutralize the orange that you don't want to have there.
It's not only neutralizing, the blue is also absorbing the light very differently, guys. It's not just like that he changed the color. He changed what the color is doing on the head. Yellow, red, and orange, it's like boom, boom, boom. Blue, green, and purple, it's going to suck it. It's going to soak it. So if he can keep it a level 8, great. because when she comes back in, awesome. There's a million things you could do there. You could do 7-21 and 811. So just know, and there's a question about 7-21 here. She used it to cut brass on a level 7, but it turned out green. I mean, on the level 7, it should work out. I'd say maybe process the full 20 minutes. 7-21 is blue though. So like Matt was going for it on the client he was just talking about, and he didn't have to drop down that dark. Great, but also it's not going to hurt her or you for the next appointment. It's too light. But it's hard because we don't know where they went.
Yeah.
He's trying to take you on the fork in the road that's the easiest, but if he can't see it, he can't give you like mixes, and he's just got to give you like how we would problem solve and have a really successful, awesome day. But
yeah. If you're talking, if you use 7-21, okay, and you got green, I'm just going to go blunt with it. The hair was yellow.
Exactly.
Right?
It wasn't orange. Yeah. Because it was probably a level 8.
Yeah. So yellow and blue are going to make green all the time, always. Okay. But that's why, and I'll be honest with you guys, when I put blue in any sort of formula after they've been pre-lightened, okay, I control my blue. I do not like pre-made blues from the company. It's just not my style, okay? Other people love them. I have coworkers that crush people's color using a lot of the -21, the 721. They love it. Here's my suggestion to you. If you've lifted somebody and you're worried that it's too yellow, if you add blue, you're going to get green, then be more in control of that 721. You're going to use 6-21, or stop, you're going to use 6-12. You're going to use 811.
Yeah.
And you're going to mix those two together. That way you're dancing in the world of 721. 612, 811 together makes a 7112.
Yeah.
Then you have far less blue because it's your third pigment value, not your first. It's your third. Then you can use 0-22, like Sam said, a drop or 2 to increase the blue a little bit. I like working with blues that way because it's such a fine line between smoky and sexy and mysterious and green, boogers, and hideous.
Yeah.
So just control the blue more on your own.
I like the 811, like Matt said. Also, it's just going to be more reflective. 7-21, if you look at it, it was made to be called, like, what is it, ashy cedar? Or there's a couple, excuse me, yes. So
ashy cedar, yeah.
that box, that moment at Schwarzkopf was for that color. It is more blue than it would be if you just made it. It's got more too. So you really got to be right on the 7-21. Really, really right on it. I mean, even with the 2-4, because, you know, so those formulas were sort of formulated for a special moment. Matt's giving you just the regular sort of level with the neutralizers that it needed, that level, and then you can mix and match. There's more 2-1, I believe, in that cedar than you need to neutralize a level 7. We have a 7-1. That neutralizes a level 7. So I like that. I like that. Yeah, like knowing, because if you cut 7-21 with the clear, like we were just speaking about, you're going to get green.
Yeah.
Especially if there's even any yellow in the hair. So that was a great question.
Yeah, scary world, guys. But before we move on to our next questions, I just want to tell you guys, when you're operating in that level, 4, 5, 6, and 7 range of things, like blue does more than you think it's going to do.
Yeah.
So just always remember, it's best that you control how much blue is in there versus allowing the company to give you a tool like 721 and to rely on that tool all in its own. That's just the tool the company gives you, says, hey, we hear what you guys are saying. You're struggling with canceling one of these levels. Here's a 721. Because Sam knows we all called for colors like that. We wanted them. And then they give them to you, and we try to use them straight up. But that's just tools for you as the artist.
I mean, and there's a lot of times where it's hard to use one toner. So imagine that one toner or that one color being 7-21, because if the ends have any porosity, even from an environmental aggressor like a beach trip, you're going to pick up more blue.
Yeah.
You might pick up more blue in the cold. Like it's a little unpredictable. It's great for when you want to see blue. I could have done a blue tone. It would have been awesome. But like, yeah.
Next time you're trying to control a brunette, to the person that asked that question, next time you're trying to control a brunette, I want you to make the exact same formula you know and you love, and then I want you to add 5 grams of 7-21 to it.
Yeah, that's a great,
that's where it should be. That's what's going to give that to you. That's what's going to give you that little bit of smokiness that then when you style your client's hair, you know, the darker skin with the lighter eyes are going to pop. Or the girl that has like that olive skin that has a lot of mystery behind her look, but you just can't seem to bring it out, all of a sudden looks really exotic and really sexy. It's just that little bit of smoke. So don't use so much of that one. Just add a little bit. Do we have other questions? Because I could go on about level 6 and bleach forever.
We could, this is because it's the hardest one, guys. So just make sure you're not neutralizing away all the work that you did. Okay, yeah. You don't need, like Matt's brought up. The first point was that depends on who that client was. He would have told her this is going to be a shit show, or this will look good, and you can come every now and then. Which one do you want to be? It's not a big deal, and not in a bad way. Just like, you know, you're going to have to funnel through. So do we ever use to tone on damp hair? Definitely, all the time. Today we use cream. Matt was talking about using 13 volume to give white hair coverage. It doesn't break the base. I use 6 volume in cream because it's clean. But all the time at the bowl, if I'm doing a nice traditional highlight or some color blocking, I will put it into a tinted bottle and a tint bottle, excuse me, and apply it at the bowl on damp hair, towel dry it. Yeah. I'll leave it about 5 minutes longer, though, a lot of the times if I'm going to use water, just because water is a diluter. So
yeah, I'll be honest with you guys. I almost always do anything level 6 and up is done on damp hair most of the time if I'm toning. I'm not toning on damp hair right now because I live in a house with hardwood floors and I didn't want water all over my floors. But normally speaking, I would have done that whole technique. Yeah, I know, Sam, I know, right? That whole technique would have been done on damp hair. If they have gray blending that needs to happen, the dampness is going to get in the way of that. So just kind of rough dry the root a little bit and then apply the root color. And then you can do, applicator bottle on the mids and ends. I love applicator bottles and I have no issues with them. When people tell me it's unprofessional because of whatever reason, I'm not even listening to them. I just like them. It happens fast. It works well. There's no issues. Who cares how you get it on? Get it on.
I agree. And just to be clear, Matt did say that he would do his color melt and root tap though at the chair. So, yeah. so just so I don't want to confuse you, we will tone on damp hair if it's sort of like an all over easy application, but it's hard to get those clean sections and get the tiny root tap or color melt that you're looking for. So I just wanted to make sure she knew. Dominic said, how do we stop the foils from blowing up when they have a metallic salt in the hair or something like that? We have a detox system. You can grab that.
Yeah.
Do a test strand if they're new, I guess. Depends on where you live. This is one of those, it could be environmental aggressors. It could be hair color. It could be shampoo.
Yeah.
That's a hard one.
The hard thing is that you're never going to know until you start, correct? Like there's no way to know. So you either test strand, okay? Let's be real. You're probably not going to. Most of us don't, except for in situations where we're concerned about the health of the hair. But she comes in with level 7 natural. She's like a unicorn. You're so excited. You put one foil on. You're starting this process. You see it starting to open up. First of all, don't panic. Nothing's going to happen. I promise. Nothing's going to happen. Okay? Drape a towel over the chair. Put a towel behind her. A towel under her neck. A towel in her shirt. A towel on your floor. Because that sucker's about to drip. Watch the drip. It's coming. It's going to start dripping. There's nothing you can do, okay? Do not use heat. It's going to limit what you can do with your service. But the reality is, guys, is I have watched this many, many times because I'm primarily a Blonde Me 9+ user. Blonde Me 9+ is so aggressive and strong. It does tend to expose those environmental chemicals on the hair. Yeah, you get a reaction. So honestly, if it starts to happen and things are starting to drip, tell your client, don't panic. You have something on your hair that's having a reaction to the bleach. It's not going to affect their hair or the lift. I promise you it won't. And just make sure that they're as comfortable as can be and proceed with your service. When that client returns the next time, they have to pay for a Blonde Me detoxing service before they can sit in my chair. If they do not want to pay for the Blonde Me detox service to sit in my chair, you don't get to sit in my chair. That's it. Because I'm not going to see that happen over and over and over again. nothing's going to happen, but the hair just needs to be detoxed before. Talk to them about soft water filters. They have shower heads that can do it for them, or they can have one installed in their house. We deal with that a lot. I'm in Orange County, so we deal with it by the beach mostly. When the clients say they're from Huntington, I just say, uh-oh, so it's going to happen.
Yeah, and she asked, they asked, does it happen to us a lot? I mean, it happens to us. Yeah, it happens maybe a little less to me because I live in Chicago and I don't take too many new clients. I don't do a bunch of transformations. So that doesn't make me more or better. It's just different. So the detox system I love for a lot of reasons, because a lot of times if I detox my blonde first, I don't always have to neutralize and tone the ends with something different. There's a lot of great reasons for the detox system, but time-wise as a stylist, I agree with Matt. I've even found that I use the clay lightener in the foil and I'm getting a little less swelling. So if the hair is not that dark and you can use the clay lightener, it doesn't tend to blow up, your words, not mine, as much as the Blonde Me 9 Plus. The Blonde Me 9 Plus is the fastest runner. It's like Usain Bolt. It's not joking around. You're not even going to see it pass by you. So you've got to make sure you're in charge of it, guys. I promise you, if you drop down to 7 volume, you'd probably have a lot less swelling and a lot less of aggressive work. Matt told you 10 is heat, 20s, 30s, 40s, and then, so it's that tortoise versus the hare. Get it on in the right way and then let it sit.
Yeah.
And but like you said, it can get messy. I mean, let it get messy. Be as honest with your person as possible. If you told them something's going to happen, there's no surprises and you're psychic.
Yeah.
With the Goodbye Yellow, the videos I've watched, they use it as a toner. It is a shampoo. Yes, it is a shampoo. The Goodbye Yellow is going to kill. It's the strongest killer of warmth. I think it kills orange. I think sometimes even on light yellow, pale hair, even like Matt's, it can be a little strong. You got to remember what we said. Blue makes things darker.
Yeah.
So if you're a silver blonde and you overuse something like that, it can make you dingy and slightly dark. It is not a toner. I think most of the time they're using it as a pre-tone. Yeah. So maybe a little confusion in some videos, but not a full toner, but it is a pre-tone, which is great if you can pre-tone. And just to make sure everybody knows that Vibrance is still alkaline. It's not acidic. So if you can pre-tone and you're not going to shut down the cuticle completely by shampooing and conditioning or anything like that. Just a quick add-on. We've only got 10 more minutes, but no more questions. So fire them away, guys, if you have any. What are the chemicals in here that makes it happen? Oh God, in the swelling and lead in your water.
It's metallic.
There's so many things. Seriously, shampoos, like they have these metallics in them. Yeah. Yeah.
The reason that happens, the swelling, is a reaction with metallics. Generally speaking, it's gonna be metallics. So when you have a hard water system in your house with not soft water, there can be metallics inside of that water. And the clients don't realize that those metallics are sticking onto their hair. And then we go into the product like Blonde Me, which is such a rapid mover and a rapid removal of pigments. It has a chemical reaction with those metallics. That is rare. That's rare, guys. The water thing is rare. I don't want you guys to think this is every client that comes in your chair.
I agree.
I promise you, if that foil goes from flat to this and starts to drip or look wet, like I can guarantee you that's because they were using a at-home color. Any of the at-home colors, your box colors, your overtone, any of those sort of things, these colored conditioners that are sweeping the industry and destroying the hair, those things have metallics in it. And those metallics are what's really reacting to the color. I can guarantee you 9 out of 10 reactions of foils going and dripping is because of metallics in at-home hair color, and not most of the time from your water. But can it happen from water? Yes. But what it really is it's a Blonde Me reaction to the metallics in the dyes or inside the mineral buildup from the metallics. Like minerals have metal composites, and it composites into the hair. So the detox system will remove those and give you a clean canvas to work on. No, Blonde Me Detox is not like Malibu. No, it is not a color remover. No, it is not a color stripper. I know those questions are being thought of and not being asked. It is a true detox system to literally solve that problem. If we make the strongest lightener on the market and we see chemical reactions happening because of metallics and other products with ours touching it, we want to make something to solve that problem. That's the Blonde Me Detox system. I charge $45, and you come in before your service, and I have my assistant actually do the whole detox service. So it doesn't take up extra of my time. Any other questions?
A couple things here. I'm just going to kind of get them out there. So my Here's Chrome ID is blue and red. It's purple, but I ran out of purple, so I made it with blue and red. But it looks a little blue because I need to shoot. Cool. Anyways, it'll change next time you see me. Don't worry. Yeah. All right. It'll still be like this, but it'll be slightly different. So would you recommend using Vario Lightener if you suspect swelling? I recommend using Vario Lightener if you don't need Blonde Me, but that's a level 7 or lighter. So if you have to use Blonde Me, you have to use Blonde Me. Matt said things like environmental aggressors, leads, things in your water will swell. Also, what will swell is if your section's too big, and if you put too much, and if you crumpled up that foil and you kind of just, fold clean, apply soft. You saw him really lay that hair straight, guys. Other things create swelling. Other things create bleed marks. You got too much lightener, it's going to move all the way into the scalp. So not all of this is swelling from stuff. Some of it's swelling from you. I'm sorry. Just apply clean and apply nice. I don't get as much bleeding as possible. So like in a box color removal, box color has a lot of metallic salts, if that's what you mean.
Yes.
The detoxifier will not remove anything other than like a buildup, like if you went swimming.
Yep.
A little bit of
yeah, honestly, guys, it sounds like everyone's dealing with the same thing. It sounds like a lot of us were at home for a long time last year, and a lot of our clients did boxes and overtone and all these fun at-home colors, and they were touching up their own roots, and now we're all trying to fix all of those things. Detox system is where you start. Okay, any sort of box color removal process. If they tell me they have box color or at-home color in their hair, we start with the detox system. Everything that Sam just talked about when it comes to Blonde Me or Vario. If you use Vario Blonde Super Plus and there's metallic dye in the hair, it's still going to have the same chemical reaction. It doesn't matter if it's Blonde Me or whether it's Vario. If a chemical reaction is going to happen because of metallics, it's going to happen no matter what. You just see one more than the other because Blonde Me is so strong, it happens so fast, okay? But it's still going to happen with Vario. That is a chance. You can go down to that. But what I was going to tell you guys is if you're getting any sort of bleed marking, swelling, or slipping, okay, I want you to take yourself back to basics. I do it all the time. I go back to basics. I mix in a bowl on a scale no more than 30 grams of Blonde Me. I make sure that I mix with the proper ratio. Okay, I make sure that I apply properly and I stay a little bit off the scalp. I make sure I apply a little less.
This is exactly why his lightener doesn't totally swell in the bowl. Back to a question that was just asked. He's making 30 grams, so it might get poofy, but he's not making 100 grams. You're just answering one while you're talking, so I had to interject. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, she's totally right. So just go back to the basics. Step back. As the artist, go back to the basics so you can advance past the level that you are at, that you're dealing with, right? Things are happening, okay? Think about it this way. If you have 30 grams, the chemical reaction over time swells this much. But if I start with 100 grams, then the swelling goes like this. That happens in your foil too. If you're sitting with a foil and you apply a good amount of lightener so it's saturated, you get a little swelling like this. Poof, a little bit of swelling. But if you go and you put a ton of lightener on there, right? And then you fold it up, and so that now you doubled. Remember, when you fold lightener on each other, you've doubled the sandwich of lightener. Now you've got a double stuffed Oreo that's about to explode if there's a chemical reaction. So just easy. Yeah. Apply it like you want your bagel, like the cream cheese applied to your bagel. We've all opened up our breakfast bagel and been like, what happened? There's cream cheese everywhere. Yeah. You just want to open it and see a nicely cream cheese bagel. Same with your foils. Just make sure it's a nice cream cheese. We've been talking for 2 hours, and now I'm like coming unglued. We're talking about bagels.
The truth is, we always want to blame the product, but sometimes it's the way that we use the product. So we got to make sure, just like you said, 30 grams, nice and saturated, but we're not talking about like, we're not buttercreaming like on a pie, on a cake, excuse me. We're exactly, the bagel thing is great. So it's not always the product. Sometimes it's the way that we're using it as well, guys. Mixing or whipping, over-mixing or whipping it together. Yeah, if you over-mix or whip like a lot, it will swell a lot faster. I know you guys have seen that, though, because it's been all over the internet lately, so I didn't even bring it up. Business question, can we talk about pricing? Sure, I live in Chicago. I'm very, very confident, and I charge for that. It's my whole head, I don't know, let's see, 65, maybe we're coming in at like a 250.
Yeah.
You know, but I'm
And
also getting this done in about 2 hours, 2.5 hours. Matt is working way harder than me. Mine was about efficiency. So I'll let him take over because I think that's probably what you guys want to know pricing wise. So does it dictate what you do or where you live?
yeah, it's going to be depending on where you live. Absolutely. Okay. It also is going to depend on your timing. Okay. The timing that you have, the amount of time that you have. Okay. So a lot of things have factored in. I live in Orange County. I work in Irvine. The 3 cities that it literally touches is Newport Beach, Costa Mesa, Irvine, Tustin. These are all very like high-end areas and high-end neighborhoods. So the way that I do it is like this. Blonde transformation is $100 to $125 per hour with a 4-hour minimum and a $100 deposit. Okay. The reason my timing is that way and my pricing is that way is because I have CDC guidelines that I have to follow here in California, 1 client at a time and no double booking allowed. That limits what I can do. I also have 2 children. So I'm in the shop 5 days, but I have my 2 boys on Thursday and Friday. So I have a nanny. So I have to be out of the shop at 5 and have to be home by 6, 2 days out of the 5 days that I work. I also have an assistant to pay for. So their overhead is high, right? Because my rent is high. I think everyone at my shop is paying somewhere between $375 to $450 a week to work in this high-end luxury salon. I have an assistant to pay for, color to pay for, and I have limited space and time 2 out of the 5 days of the week, which means my prices went up. If it's a color correction, it's $150 to $200 an hour. You have to have an in-person consultation and you have to do a $200 Venmo deposit to get in. Those are the big services. If I meet you on Instagram, you send me a picture, you say there's no box color, there's no issues, my hair was colored level 7 brown 2 years ago and I'm ready for something fun. I don't need to see you. I don't require a deposit. You send me pictures. I do trust my clients that they are great and they go a la carte pricing. A la carte pricing is going to be anything custom, ombre, root shadow, anything like that. Balayage starts at $300 and goes up. Full highlights are $250. Partial highlights are $200. If you come back to the chair and I shadow, color melt, or do any sort of toning at the chair, it's a full color service add-on price, which is $110 to $135. So it really doesn't flip and matter. You're over $400. So I actually save my clients money by saying, book me per hour, $100 to $125 an hour. You come in, 4-hour minimum. I know exactly how much money I'm making in the day. They know exactly how much money they're paying. We don't have to rush anything. 2 transformations, 8 hours, roughly $500 a ticket plus tip. In one day, it's more than $1,000. I've covered my rent, I've covered my assistant for the week, and I've covered my overhead, a cost in color on Tuesday, and I pocket and profit money on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. That's how I do my pricing. We could go all day with a pricing class, but essentially that's how I lay it out, and it's worked really, really well for me in the last year or 2.
And honestly, from across the country, I'm the same way. I'm making sure I make a certain dollar amount an hour. I don't take new clients. I don't do transformations. If I do, it comes from Instagram. I take a yada, 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 same stuff. I do not include my toner price, Marwa. I don't think Matt does either. That is
No, you only include glosses.
Yeah.
Glossing and toners are 2 different things.
Yeah, so
Okay.
now he's toning, he's doing a color melt, guys. Earlier when I said I would do more than 1 shade, it's not going to be a $70 toner. That's a gloss at the bowl on wet hair, 9.5-1, 15 minutes up and out. It's also counting as a conditioner almost.
Yeah, honestly, that's a gloss, okay? Glossing services a lot of the times are included in my price.
Yeah.
If you've been coming to me for years and your hair is looking beautiful, you come in for a partial weave at $200 and I give you a gloss toner and then we blow dry you and off you go, I'm not going to charge you more for that. You're a great customer. That's a glossing service. Yeah. You've allowed me to do all the necessary work for you to now receive glossing services.
Yeah.
So thank you for that. And here's a glossing service included. Any sort of shadowing, melting, formulating that's difficult, you end up paying for it for sure.
And that's not just a toner, guys. That's a virgin application and a retouch.
Yes.
That's not like you just put a toner everywhere. Yeah. Also, at that point, he's up in the 100, 110, 120, 130. You're doing another process. I can double book in Chicago right now. I work in a really small space. It's very different.
Yeah.
So,
Also, guys, I do want to make sure everyone knows before we sign off, because we're already over time a little bit. I still have clients that come in, and I have increased their partial weave price from 130 to 150. And that was a huge deal.
Yeah.
So I love to stand up here, and I always tell all of my wild pricing first, okay, so that you guys feel inspired to go charge like badasses, because you are, and you deserve it when you put this much work in. But Debbie70 comes in for her root touch-up every 4 weeks. She's still paying a $70 root touch-up price. And I love her and appreciate her and deliver the same quality service. So I still have my old clients. It took time to get here. It didn't just happen overnight. Please don't go back to your work tomorrow and start charging $500 to clients that you used to charge $150. They are going to freak out. But remember, a new client that was not referred to you, that found you on Yelp or Instagram, you control the narrative. You control the narrative. You tell that new client it's going to be $500. And when they show up, you make sure you have your Gucci belt on, fake or not. And you give off that appearance that you are worth the $500 color. It's everything together, okay? It's everything together. Do not charge $500 and show up in sweatpants. I'm sorry. Don't do it. Let someone else do it. Their clients will overpay and they'll want to be with you, because top to bottom, professionalism, clothes, attitude, service, then your ability with hair comes very, very last. Just the reality of the situation. Okay? Sam, do you want any closing thoughts before I wrap it up?
No, just thank you guys. I'm here by Sam Stahl on Instagram. If you need me, reach out. Same thing like Matt said the whole time. I mean, honestly, what he just said is the most truth. But hair by Sam Stahl. I don't know, that Sam Stahl here is not my tag. I'm sorry, guys. But we'll get that to you guys in the correct way. And I just want to say thank you. If you need me, please reach out.
Yeah, guys, we really appreciate you taking the time. We know that it's been difficult to receive education in this last year or so. So we're so excited to be bringing it to you guys any way possible. Please DM me or Sam if you guys have any more questions. My Instagram is Beach Blonde Boss, beach like the ocean. So Beach Blonde Boss. You guys feel free to reach out with any sort of questions or anything that you guys have. Okay. You guys are incredible. Thank you for investing your time with us on your God-given day of rest, which would be a beautiful Monday morning, to hang out with me and Sam. I love you guys, and I miss everybody. We can't wait to be out there in person with everybody very soon. Take care. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.